Imagine your 11-year-old son asking you to divorce your wife. Not another woman, not a stranger, his own mother, the woman you have loved for years, the woman who gave birth to him, the woman who has always cared for him. Now imagine that same child refusing to tell you why. What would you do? Would you laugh? Would you be angry? Or would you listen? Because that is exactly what happened in the story. My name is Patience. Welcome to a Tanologue. Peter and Deborah had what many people would call a perfect marriage. Of course, no marriage is truly perfect, but theirs was close. They loved each other deeply. They respected each other. And unlike many couples, they rarely fought. Their home was usually filled with laughter instead of arguments. Together, they had 3 children. The oldest were identical twin girls named Mercy and Joy. At 15 years old, the twins were among the brightest students in their school. Both dreamed of becoming doctors someday. Yet despite looking exactly alike, their personalities were very different. Mercy was stubborn, very stubborn. If Mercy believed she was right, convincing her otherwise was almost impossible. She loved mathematics and physics. Numbers made sense to her. Calculations excited her. Challenges motivated her. Joy was different. She was calmer, more patient, more responsible. She loved biology and English. While Mercy solved difficult calculations, Joy preferred understanding people and ideas. The twins argued often, but they loved each other deeply. And then there was the youngest child, Psalm, 11 years old, a lover of video games, a boy who would rather spend hours playing than studying, a boy who sometimes forgot his assignments, a boy who got distracted easily. In many ways, Psalm was completely normal. But there was one thing about him that was not normal. Sometimes he knew things he should not know. Nobody knew when it started. Not even Peter, not even Deborah, not even Psalm himself. The strange predictions came without warning. Months could pass without anything unusual happening. Then suddenly, Psalm would say something strange. And later it would happen. That was what frightened people. Not because he predicted things often, but because when he did, he was never wrong. The church members often talked about him. Some believed God had blessed him with a special gift. Others found it unsettling. The church pastor once told Peter, "That boy is special. God shows him things from time to time." Peter never knew what to believe. He only knew one thing. The things Psalm said had a habit of coming true. Despite that, life continued normally. Every weekend, Peter spent time with his children. He was the fun parent. The children adored him. If there was a carnival, Peter wanted to go. If there was a new restaurant, Peter wanted to try it. If there was a movie, Peter was already buying tickets. Sometimes Deborah would walk into the living room and find Peter sitting with the girls watching Barbie movies. The twins would be laughing. Peter would be laughing. And Deborah would simply shake her head. "What exactly are you people watching?" Peter would grin. "Educational content." Mercy would burst out laughing. Joy would roll her eyes. And Deborah would walk away pretending to be annoyed, but secretly smiling. That was the kind of family they were. A happy family. A normal family. At least that was what everyone believed. One evening, everything changed. It happened after dinner. The twins were upstairs studying. Peter was sitting in the living room watching television. Deborah was in the kitchen. Psalm slowly walked into the room. Peter noticed immediately that something was wrong. The boy looked serious. Too serious. "What's wrong?" Peter asked. Psalm sat beside him. For several seconds, he said nothing. Peter muted the television. "What is it?" Psalm looked down at the floor. Then he spoke. "Dad." Peter waited. "Dad, please divorce Mom before June." Peter blinked. "What?" Psalm swallowed. "Please divorce Mom before June." For a moment, Peter thought he had heard wrong. Surely he had misunderstood. "What did you just say?" Psalm repeated himself. Slowly, clearly. "Dad, please divorce Mom before June." Peter stared at him. Confused. Completely confused. "Why?" Psalm lowered his head. "I can't tell you." "What do you mean you can't tell me?" "I just can't." Peter laughed nervously. Surely this was some strange joke. But Psalm wasn't smiling. He looked frightened. And that frightened Peter. The next morning, Peter hoped the conversation would be forgotten. But it wasn't. After breakfast, Psalm approached him again. "Dad," Peter sighed. Not this again. Please divorce Mom before June. Peter stared at him. Why? I can't tell you. The same answer. Every time. The same answer. Days passed. Then weeks. And the requests continued. Not every hour. Not every day. But often enough. Sometimes before school. Sometimes after dinner. Sometimes while Peter was working. Psalm would quietly appear and say the same thing. Dad, please divorce Mom before June. And every time Peter asked why the boy refused to answer. Eventually, Peter decided to speak with the twins. One evening, he called them into his study. Mercy and Joy sat across from him. Both immediately noticed the concern on his face. What happened? Joy asked. Peter rubbed his forehead. It's your brother. The twins exchanged glances. What did he do now? Mercy asked. Peter sighed. Then he told them everything. The twins listened in silence. When he finished, neither of them spoke for several seconds. Mercy finally broke the silence. That's ridiculous. Joy looked thoughtful. Did he say why? No. Mercy crossed her arms. Maybe he's still angry. Peter frowned. Angry about what? The video games. A few weeks earlier, Deborah had confiscated Psalm's gaming console after he failed an examination. The punishment had upset him. A lot. Even now, Mercy believed that was the explanation. Maybe he's trying to get back at Mom, she said. Peter wasn't convinced. Psalm could be childish, but this felt different. Much different. And deep down, Peter knew it, because Psalm had never spoken like this before. Not even once. Unfortunately, someone overheard the conversation, and that person was Deborah. Peter did not realize she was standing outside the study door. Neither did Mercy or Joy. By the time they noticed her, it was already too late. Deborah slowly stepped into the room. The twins immediately became nervous. Peter's heart sank. What are you all talking about? Deborah asked. Nobody answered. Mercy looked at Joy. Joy looked at Peter. The silence made Deborah suspicious. What is going on? Nothing, Mercy said quickly. We were just talking. Deborah narrowed her eyes. Talking about what? Nobody answered. Now she knew something was wrong. The twins rarely looked uncomfortable. Peter looked even worse. Deborah folded her arms. Peter sighed. Let's talk later. That answer only made her more suspicious. That night, Deborah refused to let it go. After the children went to bed, she confronted Peter in their bedroom. What are you hiding from me? Peter sat on the edge of the bed. He had hoped to avoid this conversation. Now he had no choice. It's about Psalm. Deborah frowned. What about him? Peter hesitated. Then he told her everything. Every warning. Every conversation. Every request. Every single time Psalm had begged him to divorce her before June. The room became silent. Deborah simply stared at him. For several seconds she said nothing. Then she laughed. Not because it was funny. Because she couldn't believe what she had just heard. My son wants you to divorce me? Peter nodded. Deborah sat down slowly, still trying to process it. Why? He won't tell me. Deborah looked confused, then hurt, then confused again. None of it made sense. The next morning, Deborah called Psalm into the living room. The boy walked downstairs carrying a video game controller. He looked completely normal, completely relaxed, which somehow made everything worse. Sit down, Deborah said. Psalm obeyed. She sat across from him. Your father told me what you've been saying. Psalm immediately looked down. Deborah watched him carefully. Psalm, is this because I took your games? The boy shook his head. Then why are you doing this? No answer. Are you angry with me? No. Did I hurt your feelings? No. Then why do you want your father to divorce me? Psalm remained silent. Deborah felt frustration building inside her. She wasn't angry. She was confused. Deeply confused. This was her son, the child she loved, the child she prayed for. And now he wanted her husband to leave her, for reasons he refused to explain. Finally she moved closer. Her voice softened. Psalm. The boy looked up. If I hurt you, I'm sorry. Tears appeared in her eyes. Maybe I was too harsh about the exam. Psalm said nothing. Maybe I shouldn't have taken the games. Still nothing. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Please talk to me. The boy swallowed. For a moment, Deborah thought he was finally about to explain everything. Instead he whispered, Dad still needs to divorce you before June. Deborah froze. The words felt like ice. Not because they were loud, but because he sounded completely serious. Weeks passed, then another month. The strange requests continued. Sam never changed his story, never added details, never explained himself. Every conversation ended the same way. And slowly, the entire family became exhausted. Mercy thought he was being ridiculous. Joy was no longer sure what to think. Peter became trapped between confusion and fear. And Deborah tried her best to pretend none of it bothered her. But it did, deeply, because no mother wants to hear that her own child wants her husband to leave her. Then May arrived. The warnings became harder to ignore. Not because Sam changed, because time was running out. June was getting closer. Every day, Peter looked at the calendar. Every day, he told himself the same thing. Nothing was going to happen. Everything would be fine. His marriage was fine. His family was fine. His wife was fine. Everything was fine. It had to be. May became the final week. The final week became the final days. The final days became the final hours. Still nothing happened. No secret. No disaster. No explanation. No reason. Just silence. And a date. June. On the night of May 31st, the family went to bed like any other night. Nobody argued. Nobody fought. Nobody cried. Nothing unusual happened. Peter kissed Deborah goodnight. The twins went to their rooms. The house became quiet, peaceful, normal. A few minutes after midnight, everything changed. Peter woke up unexpectedly. At first, he didn't know why. The house felt strange, too quiet. He reached toward Deborah's side of the bed. Empty. He frowned. Maybe she had gone to the bathroom. Maybe she couldn't sleep. Maybe she was downstairs. A few minutes passed. She still didn't return. Peter got up, slowly walked out of the room, and headed downstairs. The kitchen light was on. That immediately caught his attention. Deborah always turned off the lights. Always. Peter walked closer, then stopped. His heart skipped. Deborah was lying on the floor, motionless. Deborah! No response. Peter laughed nervously, the way people laugh when reality doesn't make sense. Deborah! Still nothing. He rushed forward, knelt beside her, touched her shoulder, shook her gently. Deborah! Nothing. A little harder. Deborah! Nothing. Fear exploded inside him. No. He shook her again, and again, and again. Deborah! His voice echoed through the house. Deborah, wake up. Nothing. Footsteps thundered downstairs. Mercy and Joy rushed into the kitchen. The moment they saw their mother on the floor, they froze. For a second, nobody moved. Then Joy screamed. Mercy burst into tears. Peter could barely think. Nothing felt real. Nothing made sense. His wife couldn't be dead. She couldn't. This had to be a mistake. A prank. A nightmare. Something. Anything. But not this. Without thinking, Peter grabbed his car keys. He lifted Deborah into his arms and rushed out of the house. The twins remained behind, crying, terrified, watching their father disappear into the darkness. The drive to the hospital felt endless. Peter kept talking to her, begging her, pleading with her, telling her to wake up, promising everything would be okay. But Deborah never moved. Not once. Doctors rushed her away. Peter waited, prayed, cried, hoped. For the first time in his life, he felt completely helpless. Minutes later, a doctor approached him. The expression on the man's face said everything. Peter's heart dropped. No. The doctor lowered his head. I'm sorry. Peter shook his head. No. Sir. No. The doctor sighed. She was already gone before you arrived. The world stopped. Peter stared at him, unable to breathe, unable to think, unable to speak. Then his legs gave way, and he collapsed onto the hospital floor. And that was the night the Peterson family lost Deborah. The night a husband lost his wife. The night 2 daughters lost their mother. And the night a mystery remained unanswered. If this story moved you, drop a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Every single comment means the world. And for more stories like this, hit subscribe and stay with us.